All right, everyone, get ready because today we're going deep into some pretty interesting stuff.
Okay.
We're going to talk about the possibility of our pets communicating with us from beyond the grave. From beyond.
Oh,
You
wow.
shared a video from animal communicator Danielle MacKinnon, and we're ready to unpack it.
Yeah, this should be interesting for sure.
Have you ever felt that, weird mystical connection with a pet who's passed on? A little nudge from beyond the Rainbow Bridge?
Right.
We're going to explore some potential signs that this might actually be happening.
Yeah, before we get into those signs, it might be good to touch on the concept of the Rainbow Bridge itself.
Yeah.
I think it's a comforting idea for a lot of pet owners when they're grieving. Envisioning a place where their furry friends are at peace and waiting to be reunited.
Yeah, it's a beautiful image for sure. Now, Danielle MacKinnon, she's what's known as an animal communicator, someone who claims to be able to talk to animals both living and those who have passed.
Mm-hmm.
While this might sound far-fetched to so many people, find a lot of comfort and meaning in her work.
Yeah, it's important to note that animal communication is not a scientifically recognized field, but that doesn't mean it can't offer comfort or insight, especially for those struggling with loss.
Right, it's all about exploring different perspectives and keeping an open mind.
Exactly.
So in her video, Danielle outlines 6 common signs that our deceased pets might be trying to reach us. Let's start with the first one. Hearing your pet's name popping up in unexpected places.
Yeah, she used a great example about her own dog, Bella. After Bella passed away, Danielle started noticing the name Bella everywhere, on TV, on product packaging, even in the mail.
Like you're going about your day and suddenly, bam, there's your pet's name staring back at you.
Yeah.
Kind of spooky, right?
Well, Danielle believes it's not meant to be scary. She sees it as a simple message of love and connection, a way for our pets to say, hey, I'm still here.
That's actually quite sweet when you think about it that way. Okay, what's the next sign on Danielle's list?
The second sign is all about smell. Have you ever caught a whiff of your pet's scent, the smell of their favorite toy, or maybe even some less pleasant smells associated with them long after they're gone?
Yeah, like that distinct wet dog smell. It's amazing how powerful our sense of smell is and how it can evoke such vivid memories.
Absolutely. And Danielle believes our deceased pets can tap into this powerful sensory connection. They might choose a scent that they know you'll instantly recognize, even if it's not always the most appealing aroma. Think of it as a personalized message delivered right to your olfactory system.
Okay, so we've got our pet's name popping up everywhere and phantom smells reminding us of them. What's the third sign?
This one is about sound. Imagine you're going about your day and suddenly you hear your pet's bark, meow, or some other sound that was unique to them, but there's no logical explanation for it.
Oh, wow. Like you're home alone, you swear you hear your dog's bark, but, there's no other dog around. That would be pretty chilling.
It definitely has a spooky element to it, but Danielle sees these auditory experiences as little love notes and hellos from our pets, reminding us that they're still around in some way.
Okay, that makes it a little less creepy. It's like they're just trying to get our attention and say hi. All right, what's the next sign we should be looking out for?
The fourth sign is all about those sudden, unexpected thoughts of your deceased pet that pop into your mind. You might be doing something completely unrelated and bam, there they are.
Oh, yeah. I get that all the time with loved ones who have passed away. It's like a little wave of memory washes over you out of nowhere.
Danielle believes these thoughts aren't random. She suggests that our pets can actually influence our thoughts, prompting us to remember them at specific moments. And she emphasizes that these thoughts are never negative or angry, but always filled with love.
That's a beautiful thought. It's like they're sending us little bursts of love and warmth throughout our day. Okay, so we've covered hearing their names, smelling them, hearing their sounds, and random thoughts popping into our heads. What's next?
The fifth sign is probably the most visually striking. Have you ever felt like you saw your deceased pet out of the corner of your eye, but when you turned to look, there was nothing there?
Oh, I've totally had that experience. It's like a fleeting glimpse, a shadow that disappears as quickly as it appeared. Freaky, but also kind of makes you wonder.
Exactly. Danielle suggests that our pets can momentarily manifest in our peripheral vision, allowing us to feel their presence or even catch a quick glimpse of them. It's as if they're playing a game of peekaboo from beyond the veil.
So it's not just about sensing them, but actually seeing them, even if it's just a fleeting moment. Wow, okay, so we're 5 signs down. What's the final sign Danielle talks about?
This one is particularly interesting because it suggests we can actively invite our deceased pets to visit us. It's all about dreams.
Wait, are you saying we can actually request a dream visit from our pets?
Mhm.
Tell me more.
That's exactly what Danielle proposes. She says that before going to bed, we should think of our deceased pet and specifically ask them to come visit us in our dreams. She even suggests saying it out loud.
So it's like sending an invitation to the dream realm. Hey, pet's name, please come visit me tonight.
Exactly. And she says that we might need to do this for a few nights, especially if we're still deeply grieving.
And then what happens when they accept our invitation?
Danielle describes these dream visits as incredibly vivid and realistic. It feels like you're actually with your pet again, experiencing their love and presence in a tangible way. It's like a mini reunion in the dream world.
That's amazing.
Mhm.
And I bet it's incredibly comforting for people who are missing their furry friends terribly.
Absolutely. And she points out that the stronger the bond you had with your pet, the more likely these dream visitations are to occur.
That makes sense. It's like the love connection creates a bridge between the waking world and the dream world. Now, before we move on, you mentioned Danielle throws in a bonus sign. What's that all about?
Hey, are you enjoying this podcast so far? If you are, would you kindly subscribe, like, and share our channel? We would appreciate your support to help us grow and thrive so that we may broadcast more extraordinary stories. Thank you for listening to Mystic Podcast Cruise. And now, back to our program.
This one is a real tearjerker. Danielle suggests that our pets who have crossed over actually help us choose our next pet.
Wait, seriously? Like they're out there in the great beyond playing matchmaker for us.
That's what Danielle believes. She says they influence our choices, guiding us towards the animal who is meant to be with us next. It's like a parting gift, a way of ensuring we're never truly alone.
That is so sweet. It really speaks to that deep, enduring connection we have with our animals, even after they're gone. Okay, so we've covered all 6 signs plus the bonus sign. Our pets' names are popping up.
Right.
You're catching whiffs of their scent, hearing their phantom barks, having sudden thoughts about them, seeing fleeting glimpses out of the corner of our eyes, dreaming of them. And they're even helping us choose our next furry companion. That's a lot of communication going on.
It certainly suggests that our pets might be more present in our lives than we realize even after they've physically passed on. But now let's shift gears a bit and look at these signs from a slightly different perspective.
You mean put on our critical thinking caps for a
Oh,
moment?
exactly. We've explored Danielle's perspective, but now let's examine some alternative explanations for these phenomena. After all, that's what the deep dive is all about, exploring all sides of an issue.
Okay, I'm ready to get a little more analytical.
Yeah.
What should we consider first?
Let's start with the power of belief. You know, when we're grieving, we often long for a connection with the person or pet we've lost.
That makes sense. We want to believe they're still with us in some way, that their spirit lives on.
Exactly. And that desire, that deep emotional need, can really influence how we perceive the world around us.
So if I'm missing my dog Bella, and I want to believe she's sending me messages, I might be more likely to notice the name Bella or think I smell her scent, even if those things would have happened anyway.
Precisely. It's not that those things aren't real, but our heightened emotional state might make us more attuned to them, giving them significance they wouldn't otherwise have.
It's like when people see faces in clouds or, hear messages in songs played backward. Our brains are always searching for patterns and meaning, especially when we're dealing with intense emotions.
Right. Now let's think about some of the science behind these sensory experiences, like smell, for example. We know that scent is so powerful at triggering memories.
Oh, absolutely. A certain smell can instantly transport you back to a specific time and place, bringing back all those associated emotions.
Right. So when you smell your deceased pet, it's entirely possible that your brain is just conjuring up a vivid memory based on that familiar scent. It's a powerful reminder of their presence, but not necessarily a sign that they're literally there.
Wow, that's so fascinating. It makes you wonder how much of what we perceive is actually happening versus what our brains are constructing based on our experiences and expectations.
It's a complex interplay for sure. And the same goes for those auditory illusions. Sometimes, especially in environments with a lot of ambient noise, our brains misinterpret sounds.
So at a time, I was convinced I heard my cat meowing, but it turned out to be a squeaky door hinge.
Exactly. Our brains are constantly filtering and processing sensory information, and sometimes they make mistakes, especially when we're subconsciously primed to hear something specific.
Okay, so we've talked about smell and sound. What about those certain thoughts that pop into our heads, seemingly out of nowhere? Is there a scientific explanation for those too?
Absolutely. Our subconscious mind is constantly working behind the scenes, making connections and processing information, even when we're not consciously aware of it.
It's like our brain is running in the background, and sometimes these thoughts just bubble up to the surface for no apparent reason.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And these thoughts can be triggered by all sorts of things: a song, a smell, a visual cue. It's not necessarily our deceased pet directly influencing our thoughts, but rather our subconscious mind making associations based on our memories and experiences.
So our brains are these incredible pattern-making machines, always looking for connections, even if those connections seem mysterious or supernatural.
Yeah, and dreams are another great example of this. They're essentially our brains processing emotions, memories, anxieties, often in a very symbolic and abstract way.
So when we dream about our deceased pets, it might just be our subconscious working through grief and longing rather than a literal visitation from the other side.
Yeah, that's a valid interpretation. It's our way of keeping their memory alive and processing our emotions, even if it's not a literal interaction.
Okay, this is all starting to make a lot more sense now. But before we wrap up, I'm curious about something Danielle touched upon. How different cultures view the afterlife and the idea of animal spirits.
Yeah, that's a fascinating area to explore. Cultural beliefs about the afterlife and the role of animals vary widely across the globe.
So some cultures believe in reincarnation, while others have very specific ideas about where spirits go after death.
Exactly. And these beliefs can shape how we interpret experiences that seem to defy, rational explanation. If a culture strongly believes in animal spirits, they might be more likely to interpret unusual events as communication from those spirits.
That makes sense. Our cultural background and belief system definitely play a role in how we perceive the world and interpret our experiences.
Yeah, it highlights how our individual worldviews can shape our realities.
Yeah.
What we believe influences what we see and experience.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. So what do you think are the key takeaways for our listeners?
I think the biggest takeaway is that while there's no scientific proof of communication from deceased pets, that doesn't invalidate the experiences of those who believe it's happening.
And if those beliefs bring comfort and help people cope with grief, who are we to say they're wrong?
Exactly. It's about respecting individual experiences and approaching these topics with an open mind, without dismissing personal beliefs.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
So we've explored Danielle's perspective on how our pets might be communicating with us from beyond the grave. And we've also considered some alternative explanations for these experiences. But ultimately, it's up to each individual to decide what resonates with them.
Exactly. Critical thinking is key here. We should examine the evidence, weigh different perspectives, and ultimately come to our own conclusions.
Well said. Now, before we wrap up this fascinating deep dive, I have one final thought-provoking question for our listeners. If our pets could send us messages from beyond, what do you think they would want to say?
That's a beautiful question. It invites us to reflect on that profound bond we share with our animals and imagine what messages of love, comfort, or guidance they might offer.
A lovely thought to end on. What do you think?
Yeah.
Any ideas on what our furry friends might be trying to tell us?
I'm thinking they'd probably just say, I love you. I miss you.
Wow.
Like, just that pure, simple message.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, they might also want us to know that they're okay, that they're happy and at peace.
Yeah, and maybe a little nudge to, don't be sad for too long.
Yeah.
Remember all the good times and keep my memory alive.
That's beautiful. They might also want us to open our hearts to new love. Maybe encourage us to welcome another furry friend into our lives.
Yeah, it's like saying, hey, it's okay to move on in love again.
Right.
Yeah.
Welcoming another animal doesn't diminish the love we shared with those who have passed on.
It's all about expanding our capacity for love, right? Not replacing one bond with another.
Exactly.
Our pets, they teach us so much about unconditional love and just, living in the moment. They really do. They enrich our lives in so many ways. And even when they're gone, their paw prints are still there on our hearts.
That's a beautiful way to put it. So to everyone out there who's ever loved and lost a furry friend, know that their memory lives on and their spirit might be closer than you think.
And maybe, just maybe, as we've talked about today, they're finding little ways to remind us of their love and let us know that that bond we shared goes beyond, life and death.
It's a comforting thought, isn't it?
Yeah.
That even though they're not physically with us anymore, that connection, that love, it can still be there.
Absolutely. And whether or not we, fully believe in those signs, the love and memories we share with our pets, those are real and they stay with us.
This has been such a great deep dive. I
Thank
think we've all learned a lot about the possibility of connection, beyond the physical world and the incredible power of that human-animal bond.
It's been wonderful exploring all this with you.
And to all our listeners out there, keep an open mind, trust your intuition, and always cherish those memories of your beloved pets.
Well said.
Thanks for joining us on this journey into the mystical and the meaningful. Until next time, keep exploring the world with curiosity and wonder. And remember, sometimes the most profound discoveries are found in the most unexpected places.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Mystic Podcast Cruise. If you enjoyed today's story, give this video a thumbs up and share it with others who love uncovering life's mysteries. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Your support helps us continue bringing you captivating stories about the unknown, the mystical, and the extraordinary. Until next time, stay curious, stay open, and keep cruising through the mysteries of life with us here on Mystic Podcast Cruise.